everyone, welcome to the MudRoom, our weekly free uncommon sense parenting class. How is everyone? This is the last week of June and it is my kids' last day of school today. I can hardly believe it. I am so ready for 2 months free from the confines of school, and I got some water balloons that I'm going to go fill up after this, and I'm going to wait at the end of our drive. We have these big cedar hedges down either side of our property, and I'm going to hide in them and have my big bin of water balloons that I'm going to pelt them with as they walk home from the bus tonight, because what says welcome to summer break better than a water balloon fight, am I right? On that note, I have seen lots of discussion about how to manage kids that are home all day during the summer, whether they're home from school, daycare, pre-K, or even if you just have a couple of weeks of planned vacation. How can we set up our days so that our kids aren't just sitting around on screens and our house doesn't become a big pigsty? Before we get into it though, allow me to introduce myself. If you're new around here, hi, my name is Alana Robinson. I'm a parenting coach for parents of toddlers, preschoolers, and kindergartners. I help you understand why your children are misbehaving and how to fix it without yelling, shaming, or timeouts. I'm your host here on the MudRoom. I'm also the host of the Parenting Posse Facebook group, and I'm the creator of the Parentability program, where I help you raise well-behaved kids of your own. If you're watching, say hi, and don't forget to like and subscribe so that you never miss another class. Okay, so what to do with these unoccupied kids? The first thing to keep in mind during summer break is that it is not your job to entertain your children, okay? You are not a clown or a cruise director. You are their parent. It is not only okay, but good for your children to be bored during the summer. Yes, of course, we all want our kids to have some special experiences throughout the break, but that does not mean all day, every day has to be Disney-level entertainment. That said, we also don't want to just let them do whatever the hell they want to do, because they are young children and they do require some structure and some supervision. So how do we balance out these two needs? First, create a daily routine, not a schedule, okay? A schedule is by the clock, and it's not the same idea here. If you need some more guidance on a schedule versus a routine, we have a whole episode on that from a couple years back. A routine is simply an order of events. First we have breakfast, then that's done and we clean up, then that's done and we go play, etc. This means that on days where there is a clock-based deadline for some reason, like you have a work call at 9 a.m. for instance, and therefore breakfast has to be done and cleaned up by then, you can do that. But on days where there's no need to be done at a certain time, you don't actually have to change anything. You're still following the same routine, you're just following it at a different pace. When creating a fresh routine, I like to start by placing meal times because those are fairly consistent, and then fill in around those. Some things you want to include in a summer routine are regulation breaks. How frequently does your child need a break to regulate their nervous system? Also known as, how long can my kid go before doing something stupid, scary shit, or melting down? Take that time, minus it by 20 minutes. That's how frequently you need to insert a break into their routine. My kids are 8 and 6, so they can go about 3 hours between breaks. When they were younger, 3 and 5 for instance, they could go about 1.5 to 2 hours between breaks. It's going to depend on your child's age, but also on how adept they are at self-regulating. Because it all depends on your child and how good they are at doing that. If they've never had to self-regulate, then most kids can go a max of an hour. Figuring out how long your child's regulation intervals are and what activities to offer during a break is something that we cover in Parentability because it's extremely individual to every person. So if this is something you don't know how to do, I encourage you to go check out my free class and then join Parentability so that we can help you figure it out. The second thing you want to do is insert long free play periods of 1 to 2 hours. I try to fit in 3 throughout the day, so 1 in the morning, 1 early afternoon, and then 1 either late afternoon or after dinner. If your child can do 3 2-hour free play periods, that gets you 6 hours of work time. If they can be outside for the majority of that time, even better. In my house, I require my kids to spend 4 hours outside unless it's pouring rain, which means they can pick 2 of those periods to be outside and the third can be inside playing video games or Lego or whatever. On rainy days, all bets are off, and as long as they finish their chores first, they can do pretty much whatever they choose during their free time. And any remaining time can then be filled in with specific chores or errands like grocery shopping or going for a family walk or whatever. Make this routine visual. Pick pictures or icons for each block of time and put it on a wall that's central in your home. Bonus points if you either make them removable or you put them behind flaps so that you can easily keep track of what is complete and what isn't. I am pretty basic. I like to use just a strip of sticky Velcro on the wall, and yes, it does damage the wall when you remove it, but it's nothing a bit of spackle and touch-up paint can't fix. And then I add my routine images that I've laminated and put Velcro on the back of so that I can adjust the routine based on our day. When we make a visual routine, it makes it easier to change day to day because they can see what stays the same and what doesn't. It makes our day that much more predictable for our kids. And then when they come at you being like, can I have ice cream? And you know that you're going to offer them ice cream after dinner, you can show them, we're going to have ice cream after dinner. Or, can we go to the park? Okay, well, it's 7 a.m., buddy. I was planning to take you to the park after lunch. And you can show them what the plan is for the day. Second, we want to set up some daily chores for our kids. This is going to vary based on age, obviously. In Parentability, we have a whole list of chores for kids based on various ages. But for instance, a 2-year-old might have to help mom empty the dishwasher after breakfast. And they do that by handing you the dishes that you then put away. Maybe you give them a damp rag and they wipe down the table with help. Whereas like my 8-year-old, he has a whole list of stuff to do. He has to empty the pool skimmer, he has to make his bed, he has to wipe down the table after breakfast, he has to fold a load of laundry, he has to check one of our gardens for weeds, and if there are any, remove them. My 6-year-old has to wipe down the table after lunch, he has to load the dishwasher after lunch, he has to make his bed, and he has to check a different garden for weeds, and if necessary, remove them. Pick some tasks your child can either help you with, where they'll make a real contribution, or ones that they can complete on their own. This is going to help instill the idea that everyone in the house contributes. It's not all on mom or dad. And again, we want to make a visual for these chores so they don't have to be held in their brain. We don't have to nag them about remembering them. It's there and it's visual and they can reference it. I usually put chore time on our routine right before sending them outside so that when I send them out, they're very eager to go out because the work is done. And I put 2 chore times on our routine so they don't have to do them all at once. During their free play time, we want to ensure that we make it clear to our kids that we're working. Whether that's that you have work from outside of the home to do, or you have household work to do. Either way, during playtime, I'm not available to you unless you're injured or sick. Tell them, or even better, write them a social story about what they can and cannot do during that time. When my kids were younger, that social story basically said you can play in the playroom or your bedroom or in the backyard. You cannot swim in the swimming pool or play in the front yard, watch TV, or play on your tablet. It was pretty short. Now that my kids are older, they're allowed to go to the park down the road. They're allowed to go for runs as long as they bring their GPS. They're allowed to go to friends' houses as long as they tell me they're leaving and where they'll be, etc. They still can't swim without supervision, but now that they're old enough and they're extremely competent swimmers, our older neighbors, and when I say older, I mean like late 50s, early 60s, not like 80-year-olds, they're often outside and they're usually willing to supervise them swimming. So as long as they tell me and they ask the neighbors politely to come and watch them, and if they agree, they can swim if the neighbors are supervising. These are the expectations that you're setting, and by putting them in a story, you're basically making a manual that you can then refer back to and they can refer back to. Even if they can't read, because there's pictures. When my youngest was 3, he wanted to go outside and he brought me his summer social story to show me, and I had put in it that he could go outside to play with his big brother. He couldn't read. He just knew that there was a picture of him and his big brother outside, and he came into my office and he showed me the page and was like, I go outside with Wokey. And I was like, yep, you can go outside with Logan. It made the expectations really clear and it avoids that, but you said argument. It's in the story. It's on paper. it's documented so that both of us are literally on the same page. I like to set a visual timer for my kids. I don't know if you guys can see it. There's one back there. So they can see how much longer they have until their free time is done. I usually turn off the alarm on the timer because sometimes they're watching the clock and right at the 2-hour mark, they're done. Other times they can go an extra hour or two. The important part is to set boundaries, but during this time, allow your kids to do whatever it is that they want to do within reason. Some days that's going to look like playing outside. Others going to look like laying on their bedroom floor and staring at the ceiling. Both, and everything in between, are valid. Because your routine is visual, it allows you to put things like screen time on the routine so that when they start begging to watch Blippi at 6 a.m., you can point to it and you can show them TV isn't available until after lunch, or whatever you decide. For our toddlers, make sure that you include nap time so that they can see, for instance, that you're going to the park after nap. Part of what makes summer breaks so difficult for children is that there's no structure when they're really used to structure at daycare and school. So by providing that structure, we free them up from expending a lot of energy on trying to anticipate what's going to happen on any given day, which means their behavior will be that much better. So don't overcomplicate it. Don't feel like there's any one proper schedule. As long as napping kids are getting their naps after a suitable wake window most days, as much as it pains me to say, there are occasions that are more important than sleep, but only you can decide what those are. There's really no right or wrong way to go about this. If you're struggling to figure out a good summer routine for your kids, come and tell us the big components and we'd be happy to help you figure it out in the Parenting Posse. The link for the group is in the description. So happy summer break, everybody! I'll see you next week for another Uncommon Sense parenting class. Bye!